Hello, I'm here today talking to folks from Chisago County. Thank you so much for joining me. We're looking at doing county profiles through all of the 87, well, through as many of the 87 counties in Minnesota as we can. And as part of that, I'm talking to some of the counties with one really basic question is, with the coronavirus pandemic, do you think your broadband situation was a help or a hindrance, both through the community and for you personally and at work? And I'm excited to have three people who have joined us again from Chisago County to talk a little bit about their situation. I'm going to ask each of them to introduce themselves, let us know what they do and kind of what their broadband situation is at work and at home. And Nancy, if I can start with you, that'd be great.
Yes, I'm Nancy Hoffman, the Executive Director of the Chisago County HRA EDA. And I'm fortunate. I live in a township that recently received fiber to the home. So when I need to work remotely, I'm able to do it. I've held a lot of Zoom meetings at home instead of in the office. So I really do appreciate that. We're fortunate in Chisago County to have 3 townships that now have fiber to the home. And we're really trying to work for some other ones so that people can work remotely and kids can do their schoolwork. In our office, we're located in the city of North Branch and fortunate to have Mid-Continent. And so we do have good broadband here. And Sarah will probably talk a little bit about working from home, but we were able to do a lot of work, me in the office and her at home. We only have 2 employees, so it's very easy to social distance. We did take up using SharePoint more than we had before. I think I was resisting it when we were just in the office, but Sarah set it up and it really came in handy when we weren't working in the same office, as well as Teams and other programs that we talk about using and never really did. So yeah, again, I'm fortunate that both at home and here, we have good broadband and I'm able to continue working. I don't get to see people a lot, but I do on Zoom, so.
Nice. Sarah, can I have you?
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe I should go next.
Yeah.
So yeah, I work with Nancy here in North Branch at the Chisago County HRA EDA office. And like she mentioned, we have Mid-Continent as our internet provider, and it has worked pretty well. It's the, I believe at work we have the cable connection. And then for me as well at home, I live just like a mile outside of town and I have the same connection, and it worked well. Sure, there were some days, but I think with everyone working remotely and just kind of a lot of people connecting at once, yeah, we would have our occasional glitches and slow moments, but overall it worked really well. And like Nancy said, we were successful at doing the whole working at home and still being able to communicate really well, which we were super thankful for. So yeah.
Good. Dan, want to tell us a little bit about who you are, what broadband you have?
So I'm Dan Amdahl. I work for a large medical company, Boston Scientific, and my wife also works for a large medical company. She works for Medtronic, and almost at the exact same time, we were ordered to stay home in like March, which is, we're awesome, like super happy about that. And so we started working from home at the same time, and then my son started going to school remotely at the same time. And so there's been challenges for that, trying to get everybody proper internet. So my son Alex, he would be going to school using video in Google Classroom, and then I might have a meeting and my wife has a meeting, and it slows way down and gets laggy. Another challenge that we've had is the internet availability. Like the internet has probably stopped working 9 times since the pandemic, like March timeframe until now. So because of that, my son wasn't able to go to some classes, and he has autism, so he has therapy. He um he missed some of his therapy because of that, because like an hour before his therapy the connection died or whatever, and he missed out on some of that. And now summer started and it's not as bad, but because he doesn't need to go to school, other than he just finished extended school year, so he did like a summer school for 3 weeks, and I can't remember, I don't think anything really happened during that 3 weeks. um, but I'm also, another side job, and I've been working with Nancy's office, is I'm the resident advocate for rural broadband for Franconia Township. And we're trying to get fiber to the home for Franconia, and we're currently in a joint application with Chisago Township um, to try to get 2 townships to get fiber to the home.
You say the internet has gone out 9 times. For how long?
Um, Probably most of the time it was like 1 to 2 hours, but there was one time or maybe twice that it was like half a day. Now I know there's residents around here who have had their internet out for like 2.5 weeks. Um, there was an issue where the vendor flashed software firmware updates on the modems, and then it bricked them, so they were no longer useful anymore. So that's one of the things that happened this summer. Yeah, so there's some challenges there, and because we're so remote, the speeds are all over the map here, where some people have 20 megabits. And that's another thing I was going to say. Our connection, it might sound pretty good, but it's 25 down and 1.5 up. So the upload is what woke up everybody from the pandemic, is we need symmetrical speeds, or we need faster uploads. It's just because of the industry demand that we got to this point, because everybody wanted to watch YouTube videos and TV and whatever. So they kept focusing on download, download, download. And then the pandemic hit, and suddenly everybody is like, why is this connection so slow? Because I need to upload video on my Zoom call or whatever. So, and that's where fiber really shines, because it has symmetrical speeds, up to 1,000 down and 1,000 up. And it goes down from there, 500, 500, 250, 250. But it's a really nice thing to have when you're working from home. And you asked to comment on that. At my work in Arden Hills, we have gigabit connection there. So it's pretty nice, but nobody's working there right now. And we've been told that we're more than likely not coming back until sometime next year. So all winter long, we'll be working from home.
Do you know what they've done with folks who just didn't have sufficient broadband to work from home?
I'm not sure. I do know, like, one of my coworkers in my group, he did not have an internet connection, and he was using his phone, and then they allowed him to get a company phone, and then he uses a tether.
Okay.
Now he lives in by North Oaks. It's technically Lino Lakes, but I just say it's North Oaks because it's Highway 96, and it's in that area. So anyways, he has good LTE connection there. And oh, that was only temporary. Now that I think of it, that lasted like 2 or 3 months, and then when they told us we're working until next year from home, he went and got cable internet to his house.
Okay.
So, but yeah, they provided him a company phone, so that was good for him. And I don't know, I'm trying to remember if in the communications, if they said if you need a device or whatever, they were very helpful. Like, anything you need, a chair, a desk, or anything, we can provide it. So that was pretty good.
That's nice. And it sounds like he had access to broadband. It was available to him.
Yep, and what the reason was is because he moved there recently, so he didn't have an internet connection, and he was just using his phone. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hit, and he's like, I'm burning up all my data and paying extra for the company, so I should have a company phone. And then they gave him a company phone, and he used that tether for a couple of months. And then when they announced that we're going to be working until next year from home, that's when he called the cable company and had them install a modem landline. Yep.
Well, and as you said, the speeds that you have, well, 25.1, that really isn't even the speed goal for Minnesota for 2022. But
Yeah.
it's not far from it at the speed goal being 25.3. But you said that is just not sufficient for three of you really doing work.
Right, exactly. It gets really challenging. And one of the reasons that we're able to get that is because the D-SLAM is just down the street, so we're at distance. So I know for a fact that one block north of me, they're getting like, 15 to 12 megabits because copper loses its attenuation rapidly as soon as you leave that. If they have fiber running to the D-SLAM, and then from that it's copper, and this was paid for by CAF2 money, and they did not elect to do fiber all the way to the home. They just did the copper for the last mile that everybody calls it. Yeah. And it's distance challenged. So yeah.
And if I can cut in, and that's really using some of the old copper lines that have been there for many years, and probably we're having problems anyway.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Without replacing them, it really, what I hear from residents, especially in that area in the southern part of our county, is they still don't even get maybe 5 or 6 download, and just depending where they are to that D-SLAM that you had mentioned, or
every time we get rain, bad things happen, and then the phone will start randomly ringing like it's shorting out, and then if it does it enough times, the line will go dead, and then there's no internet. And yeah, like Nancy said, there's lots of people. It seems like more towards the north end, like from the midpoint of Franconia Township towards the north end, they have like 1 megabit. That's their connection, and that it's just terrible.
No,
And now I saw somebody post this yesterday. We use Nextdoor. It's like a local neighborhood. So somebody posted like, what is going on with the cell towers? I can only imagine they're doing 5G upgrades, but the signal has like been 1 bar all over the place lately in this area. And there are people here that use hotspots or their cell phones, and now they're stuck because they don't have a reliable ground connection, and they were using their phone to remotely work, and they can't get a connection.
And I think that's what the schools were trying to do, is to get those hotspots out so that students could work from home and be homeschooled and check in.
Yep. Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, there's like 1 cell tower over on Highway 97 going towards Forest Lake, and then there's another one up by the Sculpture Garden, and that basically covers Franconia Township. It's not a very, on a good day, it's not a very good signal. And now like I said, I think they reduced the power because they have crews working on upgrading it. I don't know. I haven't seen anything in the news about it, but that was my only guess. But it's definitely been reduced.
As Nancy, as you say, if that's their plan for a lot of people at school to give out those hotspots, and now they're not working, that's Do you guys know? Do you know yet what's going to happen with the schools locally? Do you have a plan whether it's going to be distance or on?
I do. I know because my son goes to Leela in Forest Lake, and their plan is they're going to do hybrid learning. So I'm assuming that will cut the attendance in half. So they haven't solidified the plan yet, but they could do like, okay, half of the school is day 1 students and the other half is day 2. And then the first week you'll go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and the next week you'll go Tuesday and Thursday. And then the other days you'll go remotely. But they sent out a survey of how do you plan on having your child attend, and I already told them that Alex is going to be remote 100%. because he has with his autism and everything, I can't trust him to wear his mask all day long. Plus he has asthma history, so we just want to keep him out of that environment and have him go to school from home.
I think in North Branch, I did have a chance to talk to the new superintendent. And according to the governor, Chisago County can open all the time. It doesn't have to be a hybrid. They have the option of, going higher or lower. I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do, but I know they were looking at an off-site, actually up at the old Tanger Mall. There's a building available there that could serve as a school building, and they would spread, that could spread the students out more, so they could do the social distancing much easier. And we even had talked a little bit about, this is all just discussion, but trying to come up with some ideas on how not only could the students use the better internet that's there, but possibly even some remote workers might be able to go up on off school hours. And this is just all discussion. It's nothing's definite. I should probably maybe talking a little bit out of turn, but I did think it was some good ideas, at least to get started, to help open up the schools again and try to get kids back in school as much as possible, and maybe even help some remote learners, remote workers. As you know, we have a high population that commute out of the county, and I assume a lot of them are staying here now, and it's just that much more critical to find places for these people to work if they don't have broadband at their home.
Yeah. Yeah, how is it with Nancy and Sarah, with you folks? You do a lot of work with different businesses. Are they able to work with you through broadband, or what are you finding?
A lot of it, if it's one-on-one, it's over the phone, some Zoom meetings. Typically it's one-on-one. We haven't had very many people here in our office. We've been able to do things remotely. So that's good, especially we're a small business development center, and we do work with businesses one-on-one. And I just have to throw this in since Anne's on on here. We did put together a little program for COVID for our businesses in Chisago County, and Anne provided 5 different training sessions to help local businesses do more online so they could increase their online presence. And we have one-on-one with Ann Tracy, and Ann's also working through the Small Business Development Center as well as the HRA EDA to still provide one-on-ones. And I know the people that I've talked to are so appreciative of it. If they can't open their doors or can't even open them fully, they got to be selling online. And so I think, this is another new norm. We're all going to be doing more online into the future. Like you say, 5 years from now, we'll probably take a lot of these things we've learned and continue working online.
And I know at least 2 of those meetings, I think I maybe did end up meeting with people distancing, because they just said the Zoom call isn't good enough, and a phone call might have worked, except you do want to share, when you're doing training, you want to show people different things, and it was, yeah.
Our EDA board has had to meet online, and I see it's most frustrating for those EDA members that do not have either a good computer, or they're not used to using a computer, or they're going to use their flip phone. and that's fine, but I really would like to see their face, and we don't get to. I don't know if they're also looking online and seeing us, but there's that they really miss coming together and being together and seeing each other's face and their reactions, and you do lose a little bit of that communication, which makes it harder to make decisions and talk about things.
It's more fun when you can see people's faces, I think. I think you can be more effective. You can, if you're 45 minutes into the meeting and you get a lot of you know, there's some good nonverbals that you could deal with, you know, but also it just changes, I think, especially for kids at school, for people who work remotely, you know, it helps us stay connected.
And Sarah has a daughter that was going to school online. How did that go?
Yeah, it was okay. The teaching part was difficult, but the connection part was good. Like I said, there would be times when she would have to get on her little computer and then I would get on mine. And then there was maybe a time or two when we were in a Zoom call and I was unmuted and I had to yell at her a little bit. So that was super fun. You know, everyone gets quiet and they all like, who was that? It was me. The kid was pouring water in my house. So, but overall, it was good. And I think that with our technology today too, on top of great connection, it makes things a little easier. You know, like we were talking, like Zoom. Yes, we're not in the same room together, but I can see you. I can hear you. I like you were saying, you know, mannerisms or facial, you know, thing that I can see all that. And so I get that. And when me and Nancy were working from home, we needed that, that social piece too, because, you know, we were, sorry, excuse me. We were not getting that social aspect that we were so used to getting too. So, I mean, no, this isn't a perfect fix, but it's darn near, it's pretty close, you know? And then for my daughter, it was hard. She didn't like doing the whole online schooling, again, for the learning part, but then also that social part. They like other kids. They need that interaction. They need to learn how to deal with kids they may not like or kids that they just love. And she really struggled with it. There were days where she'd have little meltdowns and she'd say, you know, I really want to go back to school and I miss my friends and I miss my teacher and I'm never going to see her again. and that's hard. And it's kind of heartbreaking to watch it as a parent too. So, but then they would come together and they do their once a week Zoom. I think they use something else, but call and that would just make her week a lot better. You know, not perfect, but it helps. And like I said, with the technology we have today, I think if we all learn how to work and how to socialize in this different way, it can be pretty close to the way we were used to it in face to face and in person. So yeah, there were struggles, but overall, I mean, we got to the end result, right? We got our work done and we got for my daughter, you know, she got her education. Not the same, but the end result was pretty close.
Well, and it sounds like Dan, it sounded like there was a lot of Zoom calls for your son. Sarah, it sounds like yours is more like my daughter's, which was, here's your homework.
Yeah.
You can call me if you need help.
I think that depends on age too, because like my daughter is 7. So I, you know, try to corral a bunch of first graders on a Zoom call and tell them to be quiet or teach them how to mute and unmute. And the more they did it, the better they got with it. But it was difficult. Like I was even listening as I'm working. I'm like, oh man, can you be quiet up there? So, but yeah, I think it just depends on the age, because I know then the older kids, they would do a lot more of the Zoom calls because they could work the technology a little bit better. So yeah, but hers was more, hey, here's your work for the week. Go ahead and do it. On this day, we're going to meet. On this day, you know, we're going to have a video. So a little less interactive.
Yeah.
Online anyway.
And how old is your son?
He's 12. So
Okay.
yeah, he's in middle school. And so a couple of things, Leela was already using Google Classroom before any of this started. So that they just kind of added more features and amplified that. And they just took off and ran with it. They were only out for that 1 week or whatever to prep everything. And then they were off to the races. Now, my nephew, he goes to Leela in, I think he was in, kindergarten, and they were doing like what Sarah was talking about. They only had like a 1 week once a week video call, and everything else was just homework or whatever. And yeah, it's a little bit different, and I think it is age dependent, because they're supposed to be more responsible. That's what I was going to say. My next thing is dealing with almost a teenager. Uh, I I'm in the basement right now, but when he's going to school, we have an office upstairs next to his bedroom, and he would, like, if I took my eye off him, he's like he's in class, and then on his other monitor he's playing Roblox, and I'm like, get out of Roblox, what are you doing? Well, I finally programmed the DNS on our network to block it, so when he's in school he can't go there, it won't let him. So it was just a challenge, like almost every day. And yeah, but eventually he got into the rhythm, and he didn't mind going. And when I told him the other day about he's going to go remotely in the fall, and he was fine with that, because what he does a lot is they use Google Chat / voice. So when school is over, he will call some of his classmates, and they talk, or they'll talk and play Roblox together. So he's been able to do that. Um, yeah, and the other thing that I was going to say about the pandemic is I had heard this online on the radio back in March, and I think it's true. Only the future will tell, but this pandemic has forced everybody kicking and screaming, dragging them into the 21st century. Because there's a lot of reluctant businesses. I see that even now with the fiber initiative. People are like, why do I need fiber, and why do I need a better internet? The minority, there's some residents that felt that way. And but what I'm talking about is in businesses in the cities, even our own, they're looking at cube space. Like, why do we have these huge cube farms? This is really awesome the way we have it. And so now they're talking about doing an open cube concept, where they reduce the footprint of the cube farms, and then you can work from home, and like a hybrid model. You can come in. This is in the future, not right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what that radio program was talking about. Like, businesses all over the country, even the world, are going to look and say, why are we paying hazard insurance for our employees on site, and we're paying for all the air conditioning and heating for all of this space, when we can save tons of money by having 75% of our workforce work from home, and then just rotate in and out. They could turn that into factory space, or they could sell buildings to other companies. So yeah, and then small businesses, they're forced to, now they have credit card machines. They didn't have them before. They were cash only, and that requires an internet connection. But I think at the end, when we come out of this, there's going to be a lot more people who were forced to create an e-commerce website, and then they're like, hey, I'm making money off of this, I'm going to keep this website and my store, so it's kind of that's the one good thing out of this pandemic.
I agree. I think a lot of businesses are doing much more online than they had to before. When you talk about that, I'm part of a CARES Act team at the county. The CARES Act funding that's going to counties, cities, and townships. We've been talking about it, and some of the things that they want to do are to either purchase laptop computers so that employees can work remotely. And I also heard a number of comments about how this is good into the future, because it will probably be more efficient and less costly to have people working from home, or on site, not coming to the office necessarily. And so I think even the county is really seeing how this could be beneficial into the future after COVID.
Yep, definitely.
The one thing that we haven't talked about, and you may or may not have any experience or ever heard much, is really is access to healthcare. I don't know if, I know we've had a lot more doctor visits through the phone in my house, but I don't know if that's been an issue for folks in Chisago County at all or not?
I don't know exactly. My husband has had some health issues, and he's needing checkups every 3 months for 2 different issues. And so he went down to the U of M to start with, and now we've been doing remote. He can run to the Wyoming clinic, get his blood work up, and then the next day they call or could virtually see each other. We just have been doing it over the phone, but until there's an issue, that works just fine. They can talk about how he's doing and talk about the blood work, and we've been fortunate. Everything's going really well. So I imagine we're seeing a lot more of that now, and people are not even going into the doctor's office if possible. So that it really works out, and it saves us a drive. So I gotta say, I don't put very many miles on anymore.
No, I'm never going to get my oil changed. Usually I get that blinky light. If it comes down to time, I'll never get the blinky light. That is one of the, one of the things that I like. That's and the healthcare.
I was going to say for us, we did have one remote appointment for my wife, and it was kind of nice. We were lucky because, I mean, it wasn't required for the appointment, but we have a blood pressure monitor here, so we were able to get her vitals to tell them, which was kind of nice. It was just one of those blood pressure monitors you buy at Target or whatever. But yeah, and it was pretty nice, and it was through Forest Lake, Alina. And what I like about, they eventually had her come in and do blood work. And what I liked is they told us this clinic does not serve COVID at all. So they screen you on the phone for your appointment, and then when you get there at the door, they screen you again, and they're like, if you have any symptoms, you can't come here. This is regular clinic appointments only. Nice. So I thought that was kind of nice.
It is.
Yeah, and I don't have any personal experience myself, like going or needing to go. But my sister is pregnant, and so they've been making her do all of her appointments virtually, which, I mean, the initial one, when they actually did like the first ultrasound and the first listening to the heartbeat for the first time, that one she went in. But then ever since then, she's 20, I think she's like 21 weeks now. And she hasn't been back since that first initial time. They do it, this way, virtually. So a part of me is like, well, that's nice. You're not putting yourself at risk going in. But then the other part is like, well, that was always kind of the fun part, because they would, they'd measure you and make sure you're on track. And then you get to listen to the baby's heartbeat every time you went. So like I said, part of me is like, it's good. The risk is less, but then she's missing out on some of the fun stuff. And actually, the very first ultrasound that she did, her husband couldn't be there. They wouldn't let her husband go with. So that was really hard for them. This is their first child, and he was pretty excited to go, and they said, no, you can't go. Yeah, so I know that's been ups and downs there for them.
That's got to be. Yeah, I don't think about the risk part of it, because I've got 3 kids. By the end of the 3rd one, I would have happily phoned it in. But you do wonder what gets missed, and in terms of some of that. So that's yeah. But she has sufficient broadband to do it. It's just it's sort of 2 things battling. And we've talked a little bit. It's having the devices, and it sounds like that's a big issue too with a lot of people, having the broadband, and then just the culture change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just and it's different depending on the industry and the sector.
Yeah.
All right. My one last question, and Dan and Nancy, you already kind of hit a little bit up on it, but what opportunities, what is the silver lining? What are of going online? So many of the devices.
I would say flexibility. You know, now, you know, even with COVID, hopefully one day disappearing, whenever that is, you know, if my child does get sick or something, I can just pack up and go home, and I can do the same things. I'm not losing, you know, any functionality by doing that. So, I mean, and who knows? And so let's say this COVID stuff flares up again real bad, where they do start shutting things down. Again, you know, me and Nancy are at a point where we can pack up and go home, and we're not missing a beat. I mean, yes, it does change things a little bit, but like I said, the end result is gonna stay the same. We're getting our work done. We're completing tasks that need to be done. So it's just giving us the capability of doing that from home or wherever need be, you know. So I mean, that's great. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. Dan, anything to add?
Yeah, I think that pretty much hits on the point, the flexibility part. I was just thinking, so my company had just transitioned like maybe a year prior to Office 365, which puts everything in the cloud, and you don't even have to VPN into the network to access most of the stuff. And to bring the flexibility point to the extreme, I've already had this happen several times. I have Teams. We use Teams it's like Zoom to do video meetings and whatever. And I've done this several times where I've attended meetings while I'm in the car, because through Bluetooth, it links up to the car, and then I can join the meeting, and I can just mute the phone or whatever. And then whenever I want to talk, I unmute it. And it works great, because sometimes the reason I get in those situations because I have to go into work to fix the machine. That's another thing I just thought of. I don't think I ever covered. I'm a software engineer at Boston Scientific, and I work on manufacturing equipment and robots and stuff. So I have to sometimes actually go into work to fix something that's so broken that it can't be fixed remotely. But luckily, most of our job can be done remotely, and that's what we have kind of proven that to management. Like, we can work. We should do this forever. Some of us have said that. Like, I would love to do this until retirement. Like, if I could just come into work once a week and then work from home the rest of the time. I think about the winter coming up and the snowstorms that I don't have to drive in. You know, it's like, hey, we just got 2 feet of snow. Who cares? Because I'm working from home. So that's what I think is awesome.
Nice. I'll miss a snow day here and there.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, working virtually like this is a huge cost saver. You know, as we mentioned, you know, I'm not putting miles on, but I do really miss seeing parts of the county. You know, as a development agency, I like to drive by and see how projects are coming along and what new developments are going on, and just kind of be around the businesses and see them in person. You know, that's the part that I miss the most. But it really is a cost saver. It's for gas. It's also a time saver. You know, you don't have to take that drive all the time. So I don't think I've been up in Rush City for 4 months now, you know, unfortunately, you know, and
yeah.
You know, what's going on up there. So.
And it sounds like the broadband situation, the technology situation in Chisago County is mostly adequate. I mean, good to mostly adequate. Would you?
It's mixed.
I would say that's true. Based off of what I would call the main arteries of Chisago County, like Highway 8. So once you go off the beaten path, then it goes downhill really fast. Yeah, so one thing that I was going to add about that is we're in this active community push for fiber, and we've been sending emails to residents who took the survey from last year and giving updates, and some of them replied back this year and said, oh, we moved. we moved out of Franconia because of fiber, or not
Oh,
fiber, because of the connection. We just couldn't stick it out anymore, and they left. So that was kind of a huge hit on that when we heard that. I wasn't even really expecting to hear back from people saying they moved because of that. It was a shocker.
well, and that's hard when you've got, when 2 miles over, you can get fiber.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It means you might get to keep them in the county, but they're moving from town to, you know.
Yep. And one of the residents that wrote us, they actually left the state. They moved to Wisconsin because it's so close to Franconia. They just went across the river.
Hate to lose
Yeah.
them to Wisconsin.
Yeah. I know.
That's,
So yeah, but I don't know. When I look at some of there's controversy over that too. But when I look at some of the broadband speed maps, you can definitely see the different colors of the speeds. And where we are, it's a lot of farmland, and there's not super fast connections. And I think Nancy said that too. Like southern Chisago County is got a lot of issues that could still be addressed.
Yes. We're working on it.
we're
Yep.
working on it, working on it. It's thank you so much for the look at how, kind of how it has, because I think obviously the pandemic has accelerated the need and accelerated the motivation, as folks have alluded to, and it'll be a new world next year when I'm doing the county profiles, but this year,
Yeah.
hopefully, as you said, you all have alluded to this moving forward, and hopefully next year this will be even more further down the field. So
It's a starting point.
yeah.
So, Anne, I was gonna put, I hope I typed this right. I made a website for our effort. I don't think Nancy has seen it either, but I'm putting it in the chat right now. It's to try to educate Franconia about what we're working on for our fiber to the home. And I just made that a couple of weeks ago.
It's fantastic. Okay, I'm gonna share this where I shared the video. Here, you know what I should do very, very quickly. There it is. There's the website. It looks great.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I like the, it might not translate very well through the sharing of screen, but I like the animated combine.
Yeah. All right, and that's franconiafiber.org, but I'll make sure
Yeah.
to include that.
And
Anywhere.
eventually so there's a contact form in there, and then at the top, and then eventually we're gonna probably put up a survey just to the township supervisors have said, well, you guys did a survey last year, but now after COVID, what does everybody think? So we want to try to get something out there again to see what everybody's thoughts are. I was thinking that people would want broadband more because they're forced to work from home and their children going to school and the telemedicine and everything. Yep.
Well, I think they'll want it more, and they'll want more of it. Because as you said, 25.3 sounds pretty good when you're sitting at 10.1.
Yes.
But when you've got 25.3 and you've got 3 people trying to get work done,
And even all your neighbors, the more people on the lines, the less it works.
Yep.
Not like fiber.
Yep, exactly.
And just to mention too, especially for Dan, the Minnesota Rural Broadband Coalition is sponsoring a speed test. It's funded by Blandon Foundation, Best Buy, a number of larger industries. And I think that will be very helpful for your efforts at Franconia and, when you're talking to the township boards. So we got to get the word out and get people signing up for that.
Yeah, I think I saw that on the Blandon website. If I can get that link, I can have Angel send it out on our community email to have people go there and take the test.
I might have sent Ann's blog to to Angel.
Yeah, there we go. The Minnesota broadband speed test right here. And I sent you the link in the chat.
All right.
But just for folks who might be watching, mnruralbroadbandcoalition.com/speed test. There we go. So we're mid-process. Stuff is happening and people can kind of muddle along, but we need it to be better. We need it to be.
Yeah.
That's the situation in Chisago. Because you guys have done some amazing work. I've written about it in the blog. We won't take time here to talk about it, but I mean, you've done some really innovative work working with different providers to get fiber to a couple of the communities. Now we just need it to the rest of the communities and then beyond, which is there you go. Goal for 2021.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Nancy, so much for your time.
Thank you.